Hey, Russell here from Adelaide West Physio and Pilates. Just here in my rocking chair, ruminating once again. I wanted to talk a bit about prediction and predictive processing because, funnily enough, it's something I've thought about for quite a while, but not really understood it like I think I understand it now. And the idea is that we're in our bodies, there's prediction going on all the time. Your body is this amazing, I don't want to call it a machine, it's not a computer, but it's whizzing through data and making predictions all the time. And this predictive processing is something that helps you to stay out of trouble. That's probably the main benefit, really. And if you think about it, so to take a low back pain example, someone that's had an episode of low back pain in the past, it would make sense that if you were in a similar situation again as the situation in which you had low back pain before, it would make sense that your body has a way of recognizing that and knowing it and protecting you from going to that same place again. And that's really what this prediction stuff is all about, and kind of makes sense. And that it might be a situation where through that previous experience you're protected a little bit extra. So to me, it makes perfect sense that if you've been in a situation before, if you've had that kind of pain before, that there's a way that your body can be set a little bit conservatively to protect you and maybe prevent you from going to that same place again. And the example that stuck with me, and a lot of people have heard it, is if you think of the very, very first time that you got ridiculously drunk, and you know what it's like when you go to smell that or taste that particular alcohol again that was responsible, or it might not have been responsible. It might have been the mouse that sank the boat. There might have been a lot of other alcohol beforehand, but usually there's one real trigger where if you go to smell it or taste it, it just really turns your stomach and you can't go near it. And that's in essence what predictive processing is about in a way. I heard a really interesting story a couple of weeks ago. I hope this person doesn't mind me sharing it. There's no names involved, but the story was this person had big problems with morning sickness. And when her first child was pregnant with the second child, first child would put him in front, or her in front of a TV with kids programs on so she could at least get through the day with this morning sickness. And then after having had the baby, one day she turned on, or the kid turned on Bluey, and the theme song to Bluey was enough to make her go and vomit. That association with that period of time where she had really bad morning sickness, and obviously Bluey was one of the programs that must have been going on in the background. How amazing is that? It's associative learning, but it's still that idea of predictive processing to keep her out of trouble. And that's what happens in pain. And that's how you can become more sensitive too, because we're set for preservation. You know, your brain's number one job is to look after you, keep you out of trouble, keep you out of danger. So to me, the big benefit of predictive processing is that it helps you to stay out of trouble. The problem is when it goes a bit wild, and when your internal model is set sensitive, so that really every situation that you're in is being judged as potentially threatening And that's the persistent pain situation, where the setting is so strong, so sensitive, that everything is judged as being threatening. And so the way to start to address that is by finding ways of doing certain movements that could be predicted as being dangerous, but doing it in a way that isn't dangerous or different or non-threatening. And key is understanding it as well. So if you can understand that you've got that pain at the moment, but the reason you've got it is because your brain is judging that there's some threat involved. And if you can understand it from that point of view as well, it makes all the difference. So just moving on its own, or doing the right kind of exercise, the right kind of movements on its own, isn't nearly as effective as doing it with an understanding of things like this in a practical way. I think that's the key, is if you're learning about pain science, it's got to be relatable, it's got to be practical, you've got to be able to see how it fits in with the experience that you're having. Anyway, I have probably rambled on enough. I hope that kind of makes sense. Predictive processing is all about cool stuff like neurotags and internal models and competition between the battle of the neurotags, all these kind of ideas that don't really need to go into too much detail, but it's important that we understand them so that we can pick out the important bits to help the person that has persistent pain, and to find some different ways of explaining it so that it might make sense and it's relatable. I think that's the real key. I know that there's been lots of people over the years who have enjoyed a conversation about pain science. And yes, they have enjoyed a conversation about pain science, but perhaps haven't been able to relate it to themselves, and say it probably hasn't been nearly as effective as if it had been something that was really, really relevant to them, and they could say, oh yeah, I can see how that throwing up, that remembering the first hour on throwing up, how that might somehow relate to this back pain that I've got at the moment that won't go away. Anyway, if you've got any questions about that, if you want to make any comments about that, if you think I talk rubbish, if you want some references to look into this a little bit further, by all means, get in touch, chuck some comments down below, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.